These are my top 10 picks for the absolute best Japanese Netflix series. And if you're wondering how I was able to pick my top 10, it's because I binge watch Netflix a lot. So I've seen enough of these shows to say that I can 100% recommend them, especially if you're learning Japanese. You'll find lots of culture, a variety of genres, great themes, and valuable vocabulary in these shows. Starting with the first one, Followers. What happens when your entire life starts to revolve around likes, followers, and curated perfection? Well, Followers dives into this question, and we get to see what life is like for Japanese influencers. It isn't just about the glitz and glamour of influencer culture. It's about ambition, identity, and the sacrifices women make to chase their dreams. Our protagonist is a famous fashion photographer living her dream life. But despite being successful, she starts to feel empty. On the other side of the spectrum, there's Natsume. She's a struggling actress who's thrown into the spotlight when a photo the other protagonist took of her for her Instagram account goes viral. At first, the fame feels like a blessing that hit her out of nowhere. But she then finds herself struggling to balance her new life online and her happiness in real life, much like the first one. But actually, the one thing I like the most about this series is that it doesn't just focus on the two main characters. Followers also shows the real-world effects that social media can have on young women and girls, creating a very raw and relatable storyline. It's a perfect reflection of the double-edged sword that is social media, both a tool for empowerment and a source of overwhelming pressure. Alice in Borderland. Dystopian sci-fi, survival, alternate realities, that pretty much sums up the main themes of Alice in Borderland. Our protagonist is young, unemployed, and to many, unambitious. And he's obsessed with video games. But he's actually super smart and has great problem-solving skills, which makes him incredibly good at the games that he plays. Even though he's very passionate about video games, he feels disconnected from his family and from society. And this leaves him longing for an escape. This leads us to his two friends. The first one is his best friend. He's a bartender, but he lost his job for getting in an altercation. The other one is an office worker who hates his job and his overbearing mother, and he's constantly complaining about her. After a rough week, they all need to blow off some steam. So they meet up to joke and rant about life free of societal expectations. They get so caught up in this fantasy world that one of them gets the genius idea to put the other on his shoulders and runs onto oncoming traffic. They see law enforcement come after them and then they book it to a public restroom where the power goes out. But this isn't a normal power outage. When they exit, the bustling streets are completely dead. No people, no cars, and no signs of life. They soon realize that they are trapped in another world called Borderland, along with a few others, and they are forced to play a series of real-life survival games where something like choosing the wrong door will lead to death. It doesn't really take long for them to learn the rules. The participants must compete in deadly games to survive. Each game is ranked by difficulty using playing cards, and winners earn visas, granting temporary immunity from death. When your visa expires, a laser beam falls from the sky and unalives you. Overall, this show is very interesting and put a unique twist on video game dramas. If you're into survival thrillers that touch on themes of friendship, loss, morality, humanity, systemic power, and rebellion, you'll love Alice in Borderland. Burn the House Down. Our protagonist is a seemingly normal young woman. But 13 years ago, her family was torn apart after her mother took the blame for a fire that burned down a house. She now has memory loss, and the real culprit got away with arson thanks to her. The protagonist suspects her former stepmother, Maiko, a rich social media influencer and a businesswoman. And finally, she sees an opportunity for revenge. Our protagonist infiltrates her home to search for evidence when she's hired as a new housekeeper under the pseudonym Shizuka. Meanwhile, her sister helps by analyzing her former stepmother's social media, and they find items that Makiko had stolen from their mother when they used to be friends. It doesn't take long before our protagonist realizes that her former stepmother is living a double life, and she finds many inconsistencies in her story surrounding the house fire. This show had me absolutely hooked from the first episode. There are so many twists and turns, and I constantly felt the suspense. We see the protagonist face betrayal, revenge, resilience, and a passionate love for her family. And it constantly has you wondering how far someone would really go to uncover the truth and avenge the people they love. First Love. This show takes us on a journey of teenage love, adulthood, and separation, and second chances. Set in late 90s, our main couple met in high school, where they were instantly attracted to each other and eventually confessed their feelings. One of them dreams of becoming a flight attendant, and the other one a pilot in the Japan Air Self-Defense Force. They were in deep love throughout their high school relationship, but then they became adults, and life took some very unexpected turns. Our female protagonist's dream of becoming a flight attendant is shattered when she gets into a life-altering car accident. And he does join the Air Force, but after an extremely traumatic event, has to leave the military and starts going to therapy. These incidents cause them to drift apart and eventually break up. Fast forward a few years later and they're in their late 30s. She is a divorced single mother working as a taxi driver in Tokyo, with basically no recollection of her relationship with Namiki due to her memory loss. Namiki now works as a night guard and is engaged to his fiancée, who used to be his therapist. But their relationship is rocky. Although they live completely separate lives now, their paths fatefully cross again when his son sneaks in to see his favorite performer, who he has a crush on, in the building where she works. Later, he sees her driving her car and is instantly determined to go after her and get their relationship back. This show is pretty short with only 9 episodes, but the plot alternates between the present and the past. So it moves pretty fast, and honestly, there's never a boring part. The first episode did require a lot of my attention because of the timeline switches. I had a hard time catching on to the fact that these were all the same people, just at different ages. But luckily for me, what made these a lot easier was using FluentU's Chrome extension. Using the Chrome extension while watching any Netflix or YouTube video that has captions makes the subtitle clickable. This means that you can click on the word to see its meanings, example sentences, pronunciation, and other videos where the word is used in different contexts. You can also save the words that you click on to your FluentU account, so you can study them with flashcards and quizzes later. The FluentU platform also has thousands of videos curated for you. You can browse them like movie and TV clips, music videos, inspiring talks, and much more. Plus, you can import YouTube videos into your account if you prefer to do all your studying on the platform. As long as it comes with captions, you'll get all the same FluentU study features. By the way, what Netflix show you would like to learn Japanese with? Comment below to get a chance of winning 1 year of FluentU for absolutely free. You can also click on the link in the description to check it out with a free trial. Okay, I'm excited for this next show. The Could Have Gone All the Way comedy. We all have regrets when it comes to love. We think something could have, should have, or would have happened when in the end, it never did. But what the characters in this Japanese show do is go to a 3-member committee who judge their stories and tell them whether this missed opportunity was even a real opportunity in the first place. The 3 committee members are Yusuru, Ayako, and Oasis. They spend their days listening to people's love regrets. Each client presents their case by recounting their regret story. In episode 1, it was a man named Mr. Masuda. In high school, he worked at a small convenience store and had a big crush on his female co-worker. One day, she invited him over to her house along with 2 other friends, who she purposely sent to a faraway store to buy more snacks, leaving the 2 of them alone and her climbing into bed after turning on a steamy movie. And although he desperately wanted this to be her way of initiating intimacy, he was frozen in doubt and stayed sitting on the floor. To this day, he constantly wonders whether he could have had a chance at sleeping with her, which is what led him to the Could Have Gone All the Way committee. After hearing his story, the 2 male judges vote that yes, he could have gone all the way, and the female judge votes no, saying the girl could have just been tired and there was nothing more to it. Each episode is like this, featuring a new client and their story. The episodes are also about 25 minutes long, which for me made the show all the more bingeable. It's a nice change from the usual Japanese dramas we see, and I personally love listening to all the stories. Each episode kind of feels like a Japanese gossip session. Informa. Journalism meets the criminal underworld in this Japanese drama. Our protagonist is a reporter for the tabloid magazine Weekly Times. His job is to write about celebrity gossip, but he's always wanted to write more meaningful, important stories about societal issues. So, of course, he's bored and tired of it. Luckily, his editor-in-chief realizes how unhappy he is with his current position and gives him a new task instead. He has to meet up with a highly influential informant who goes by the alias Informa. He's actually a former Yakuza with extensive connections across politics, entertainment, and the criminal underworld. And with his knowledge, our protagonist can finally write about the elite of society and their criminal activities. But he really isn't prepared for what he's getting himself into. Getting involved with Informa means he's now been thrust into intense investigations that lead to a string of brutal murders, like a politician who's been set on fire in the street. While pretty intense at times, I found Informa to be super thought-provoking drama. We see Mishima, our protagonist, transform as a person as he runs into ethical dilemmas, challenging his preconceived notions of morality. He realizes that there are personal costs that come with pursuing the truth, but those sacrifices have to be made to expose corruption of those in power. House of Ninjas. At first glance, this family seems nothing but ordinary, but they actually have a centuries-old secret. They are ninjas. They are descendants of the legendary ninja Hattori Hanzo, and they were once operatives for the Japanese government. But after a tragic accident during a mission takes the life of their oldest son, they step down from their ninja duties and try to live normal lives. But when their rival clan threatens the safety of Japan, they're forced to confront their past and step back into the ninja heritage to protect their country. And as they work through their mission, it becomes about more than just doing their job. It's about mending relationships, overcoming guilt, and rediscovering their ninja roots. As far as the family themselves, there are 4 members. Haru is the second son, who feels guilty for his brother's death. Nagi is the youngest daughter, and she uses her ninja skills to participate in heists. But she's now caught in a public scandal because of that. Riku is the youngest son, and he actually doesn't know that his family are ninjas. Yoko is the mother, and she actually goes on secret missions without her family knowing anything. And Soichi is the father, who really just wants a peaceful life running the family brewery, but can't seem to escape his past. Overall, I really enjoyed connecting to each one of the characters. It isn't just a story about espionage. It's about family, resilience, and reconnecting with ancestry and roots. If you're looking for the perfect mixture of action, mystery, and heartfelt drama, House of Ninjas is definitely for you. Ishiko and Haneo, You're Suing Me? This show reminded me of the Could Have Gone All the Way comedy because each episode features new clients. But instead of judging people's missed romantic opportunities, this Japanese drama is about a lawyer and a paralegal who have nothing in common, but always end up working insanely well together to settle their clients' cases. The first one is a 28-year-old paralegal working at her father's law office. Her dream was to be an actual lawyer, and she was even a top graduate of Tokyo's University Law Department. But after failing the bar exam multiple times, she settled on being a paralegal instead. Still, she's extremely dedicated to her work. The other one is a lawyer, and he was recently hired by her father. But he has a very unique background. He got into law school in America, but dropped out and traveled all over the US instead. But when he got back to Japan, he passed the bar exam on his very first try, thanks to his photographic memory that lets him remember the tiniest details and everything he sees. The two of them have very different styles. She goes by the book, whereas he has an eccentric personality and uses very unconventional methods to get case settlements. He calls it his personal brand, but she is constantly worried that he's going to get them sued. Throughout the series, we see them tackle cases that involve everything from power harassment and workplace bullying to minor grievances. I love seeing how the two of them work together and find creative solutions to their clients' problems. I also like how each episode features a new client, so we're really not stuck on the same few cases for the entire season. But they do build off of each other enough to see a lot of personal growth in each character, and some of my favorite characters from previous cases show up again. For example, Oba, the very first client in episode 1 who was a victim of workplace bullying, ends up taking a part-time job at the firm, so we see him through the show too. Overall, if you like slice-of-life dramas mixed with a bit of legal drama, you'll love this show. Midnight Diner. In the heart of bustling Tokyo, there is a diner called Midnight Diner. It runs from midnight to 7 a.m., catering to night owls, late shift workers, and people who just want to get out during the city's quietest hours. Everyone calls the owner Master, and in fact, that's the only name we have for him throughout the entire series. He's an extremely heartwarming character, and the most unique thing about him is that he has no menu. He makes whatever the customers ask him to make, as long as he has the ingredients. Each episode focuses on a specific customer, their backstory, and the personal story behind the dish that they order. The customers include anyone from cab drivers, hostesses, struggling artists, to salarymen. For example, in episode 1, we meet a female taxi driver around her 40s who regularly visits the diner and orders 10 men without noodles. A radio show host is also there and notices her strange order, and she explains that she doesn't want to eat carbs late at night to manage her weight. He goes on to share this on his radio show, and the two see each other several more times at the diner. We learn that the taxi driver was an actress in a TV show that the host watched in his youth, who became really close friends with the lead after finding out that he wished he had been born a girl. The host ends up inviting the lead on his show, and he sends a public thank you message to the cab driver. Overall, Midnight Diner is a very heartwarming show that also gives great cultural insights, especially when it comes to Japanese cuisine. I particularly enjoyed learning a lot about specific dish on each episode, while also getting to connect with the highlight characters. The Makanai, cooking for the Maiko house. If you're looking for a show that will teach you a lot about traditional Japanese cuisine, you absolutely have to watch The Makanai. It's set in Kyoto's geisha district, where two elderly women run a school for girls to become Maikos, girls in training to become geishas. They learn everything from traditional dancing, cooking, etiquette, language, and so on. The show follows two best friends who leave their hometown to become Maikos. They are both super excited in the beginning, but it doesn't take long for them to realize that they have quite different experiences. The first one catches on really quickly. She's dedicated and excels in all of her classes, and she's already gotten the Maiko language down. But the other one is struggling to keep up and finds that she might be better as a Makanai instead, the house cook for the Maiko and the fully trained geishas, who are called Geiko. She absolutely thrives in this position, becoming sort of the nurturer of the house. We see how her role evolves from being just a cook to a confidant and a vital member of her community. Her meals often spark memories and conversations, highlighting the power of food. Meanwhile, we see the other friend struggle with perfectionism and homesickness, while also balancing her passion for the art that she's able to train in. And throughout the entire series, their friendship continues to grow and evolve. Like I said in the beginning, this is the perfect show if you're after cultural immersion and a heartwarming story. I learned so much just from the first episode, and I can also say it's pretty easy to keep up with. So if you're a beginner, this might be a good watch for you. Whether you want a thriller, something heartwarming, a mystery, or anything in between, there's a Japanese show on Netflix out there. I absolutely love the variety in all of these, and they were so easy to binge. Speaking of that, there's also a ton of variety in Japanese learning websites. Check out this next video to find my top 10 favorite ones.